I do not eat donuts. Born in Glasgow, Scotland in 1961, Graham McTavish was the son of Alec and Ellen McTavish. His family was politically active, and as a child, Graham moved with his parents to Canada, the United States, and England before ultimately settling in New Zealand. He got his start as an actor in school when a teacher asked him to step in and substitute for a student actor who had gotten sick in their production of Richard Sheridan's The Rivals. The teacher had seen that McTavish and his friends would write and perform comedy sketches together, and it gave them confidence that the young student could handle taking on the role with short notice. Graham would go on to attend Queen Mary University of London, earning a degree in English literature. As part of his degree work, he had the opportunity to act in 3 Shakespeare plays a year, and, after acting in a Samuel Beckett play as well, he left university with both his degree and his equity card. Fresh out of college, he found work with repertory theatres in London's West End, as well as with Scotland's Dundee Rep. He would make his on-screen debut with a role in 1986's Return to Treasure Island, which featured Brian Blessed as Long John Silver. Small roles would follow in the TV movie Freedom Fighter and in For Queen and Country. He was also a participant in the same 90s boom in first-run syndication in America that produced Dracula the series, appearing as Charlie Tarvice in Highlander the series. Through much of the 2000s, he had a prolific career as a guest star, primarily on British television, with appearances on series such as Doctors, Rose and Maloney, Jekyll, Rosemary and Thyme, and The Last King, as well as playing Captain James Stagg in the BBC's film D-Day, 6 June 1944. Meanwhile, he was also making appearances on American television in Numbers, Prison Break, Lost, and Pushing Daisies. His film work is not too shabby as well, with appearances in Rambo, Ali G. Indahouse, and The Wicker Tree, as well as playing Dwalin in Peter Jackson's trilogy based on The Hobbit. In 2014, fresh off production of Jackson's trilogy, he landed a recurring role in Starz' Outlander as Dougal Mackenzie, and in 2016, he started appearing in AMC's adaptation of Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon's Preacher, playing the Saint of Killers. And all of this while also providing voices for cartoons and video games too numerous to count. He currently lives in New Zealand with his wife, Gwen Isaac, who is the director of the documentaries Heroes Unmasked, Where There Is Life, and Susie and the Virus.
They won't be superstitious if they learn how the world really works.
Why should I do that?
To make the world better. Start with me.
And I'll start with you.
I think I might like you.
Castlevania is a long-running media franchise, all springing from 1987's Castlevania video game for the Nintendo Entertainment System, or, if you want to get all the way back to its Japanese release, it would be 1986's Akumojo Dracula for the Famicom Disk System. The second game in the series followed a similar, non-linear gameplay style to the NES hit Metroid, leading to games in that style being commonly referred to as Metroidvanias. There are 26 games in the primary Castlevania line, releasing all the way from 1986 through 2009, and the reboot Lords of Shadow series features 3 games released between 2010 and 2014. None of these counts include the numerous spin-offs, pachinko and slot machines, iOS mobile games, or the many, many times that Castlevania characters have appeared as guest stars in other games. The video games initially were heavily inspired by the Universal Monsters movies, with Dracula's original look in the series borrowing heavily from 1931's Dracula. Dracula resurrects every 100 years and attempts to take over the world, but he almost always runs into a member of the Belmont clan, a family of vampire killers and monster hunters whose members in the series have included Simon, Christopher, Soleil, Trevor, Richter, Sonia, Just. Look, the Belmont family is vast and they all want to kill monsters. Even the goofy Simon Belmont with the goggles and bomber jacket, who appears in Captain N the Game Master. There have been a handful of comics adaptations, both from Japan and from American company IDW, and there were ideas thrown about for a cartoon series in the 1980s that would have aired as part of the Super Mario Bros. Power Hour. In 2000, Rogue Pictures announced it was developing a Castlevania movie, but the project ran afoul of the 2007 writer's strike. Then the studio being sold, and then finally to the threat of yet another writer's strike. The movie was officially announced as canceled in 2009. Comics writer Warren Ellis had been brought in to work on the screenplay. Known for such comics as Global Frequency and Transmetropolitan, Ellis was supposed to work up a screenplay for an 80-minute direct-to-video animation. At the time, he had never seen or played the games before, but when he dove into the subject, he found it familiar, seeing it as a Japanese reinterpretation of the Hammer Dracula films that he had grown up watching. Ellis's work continued even though he found working with Koji Igarashi, then the producer of the Castlevania games in Japan, to be frustrating, as Igarashi demanded that the story should fit neatly into the game's existing timeline, and asked for 8 full rewrites before finally approving Ellis's script. But Ellis did enjoy the creative freedom offered by the project. His previous work in writing for animation had been for child-friendly projects, while the studio said that they were aiming Castlevania at an older audience. Ellis ultimately delivered more than was required, turning in 3 scripts, a complete Castlevania trilogy of which only the first movie had actually been greenlit. Each script worked together to tell a larger story while remaining self-contained with their own 3-act structures. Following the project's cancellation in 2009, Warren Ellis remained attached to the project as it made its way through Turnaround. Turnaround is the bizarre half-life, or if you prefer, undeath, experienced by film and television projects that have lost their champions and exist in a gray nether realm where nobody else can touch them, but the people who own them aren't actively working on them. Following a quickly aborted attempt to bring Ellis's story to cinemas as a live-action competitor for the Underworld franchise, the scripts found their way into the hands of Powerhouse Animation Studios and Netflix. Ellis says that Netflix only asked for a few minor changes to bring the format of his original scripts into line with Netflix's standards.
You hate humans. You have a focus and clarity that the others lack. You understand that humans think and scheme and betray. You understand why they all must die.
According to producer Adi Shankar, who had previously turned down the opportunity to direct the ill-fated live-action production Before agreeing to produce for Netflix, their goal with Dracula was not to show him as a villain, but as a tragic figure, a person consumed with darkness. With Graham McTavish as his voice, Castlevania's Dracula is a fascinating take on the character. We have seen Dracula driven by love, we've seen him driven by hunger, and we've seen him driven by revenge. But McTavish's Dracula is driven by hate. And not the blazing, hot, violent hate you might expect either, but rather a cool, calculated hatred. This is a Dracula who does not care how human beings die. He doesn't care if they suffer or if it's quick. He doesn't care if they wind up as food for his fellow vampires or if their bodies go to waste. All he wants is for every human being to die. That is the only thing that will satisfy him after the church was responsible for the death of his human wife. This Dracula is on a slow burn, and he is capable of not only love but also absolute devotion. But hatred blinds him to everything, even as he remains cool, calm, and collected. Castlevania debuted on Netflix in July of 2017 and was immediately the most popular digital online series in the United States, measured by video streams, downloads, and social media mentions. By the release of its second season, Netflix analytics showed that it had nearly 30 million viewers worldwide. Critical and fan response was largely positive, with many gamers rating it among the best video game media adaptations ever. The fourth and final series debuted in 2021 with massive positive response. Back in 2018, Shankar announced that he had obtained the rights to develop a series based on Capcom's Devil May Cry, saying that he intends to set the series in a bootleg multiverse with the Castlevania series. Netflix announced shortly after the final season's debut that they are producing a spin-off of the show that will leave behind the series' main characters, Trevor Belmont and Sypha, and instead set the new series in the time of the French Revolution, with Richter Belmont in the lead. However, Adi Shankar is reported to be suing Netflix for breach of contract, as he has been excluded from any and all planning for this spin-off. Meanwhile, Warren Ellis has been told in no uncertain terms that he is not welcome to return to Netflix, nor is he involved in any planning for spin-offs or the multiverse, due to sexual misconduct allegations that started surfacing in June of 2020. At that time, several women came forward to accuse Ellis of coercion, manipulation, and of engaging in simultaneous relationships with multiple women without their knowledge. By the 19th of June that year, the number of women coming forward against Ellis had grown to 60, and in mid-July, The Guardian reported that close to 100 women had come forward with accounts of manipulation, gaslighting, coercion, and other forms of emotional abuse. 37 testimonials have been collected online and are still available as of this recording at the website SoManyOfUs.com. The current latest update on the website was posted June 24th, 2021, and says that Warren Ellis has reached out to them and indicated that he is interested in accepting the offer of a mediated dialogue, and that they will provide updates as they hope to begin a transformative justice journey. Their FAQ is recommended reading. Please make certain to go check out that website. I'll also be linking it in the description below, and make sure that you read their FAQ. But thinking of Castlevania, what do you think of Graham McTavish's performance as Dracula? Drop down into the comments below and let me know. And while you're there, there's also a like and subscribe button. There's also a bell that you can ring in order to get more updates whenever this channel uploads a new video. There's also a share button that can be used to share this video with your friends, because sharing is caring. Until next time, I am Glenn Williams, the Film Optimist, reminding you to watch like it means something.